Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Wednesday. I can't wait to dive into this Workflow Wednesday with you guys, where we are going to bring you the latest and greatest when it comes to our internal product, OhScrap Shop Management Tool. That said, it has been a very long time, I believe October, November timeframe, since I put together a video highlighting all the new things inside of the software, as well as some of the new interesting workflows to get you out of spreadsheets and into a automated management tool for both the routing of your operations on parts, as well as speeding up your estimate times and pre-routing said operations. And as you're going to see here shortly, we got some really neat tips and tricks, as well as a new breakdown to make things much simpler on your end. So with no further ado, let's dive into this. I do realize over on the right, I may be a little loud. So if you guys are out there, by all means, let me know. Can you hear me nice and clear? Is everything coming through pretty? If not, go ahead and let me know in chat. Also, at any time, if you guys have any questions as I work through the software today, feel free to put them in chat. I would be happy as possible to answer those questions. Joe from PB Branding, it's been a minute since I've seen you, buddy, but let's get to this. Great to see you out there. As you guys can see, I have started a brand new fresh account. Now, pre-warning here, I tend to live dangerous. I am on more or less a beta version of our next update that's rolling out. Now, that's not to say that the stable build is 100% at the moment. Everything has little bugs that we're tweaking out, but I want you guys to know, as you know, as this video goes, I always have the best of technical difficulties. But that said, let's dive in as if you were a new user. And for those of you that are currently in the product, we love you guys, but this is what we're rolling out to see for the latest and greatest. So as you guys can see right out the box, we have put a lot of time into making this much more intuitive and self-guided. And as you guys can see, we have the golden thread, which means this is going to be the workflow, or if you guys know my Fusion videos, the left to right, top to bottom move. But we need to add our customers, create estimates, turn those into quotes, and quotes roll over to work orders. Now, for this case, as you guys can guess, we could load sample data. You could start the guided tutorial, but I'm going to skip it because you guys know it. I know everything there is to know under the sun. So with that being said, first time in the software, if you're the owner of the company or a manager, you're going to be greeted with this amazing admin dashboard. And this is going to give you an overview of your shop, as well as currently in Workcenters and your statistics based on work you've taken, how it's moving through. Now, I have nothing in my system, which leads me to the first couple of steps you all are going to want to do. And that may be is let's start by adding a customer into the system. You guys are going to see here, I'm going to go ahead and throw in PMB Inc. This would be anybody and everybody you're doing business with. And this is going to be Phil White. If you guys didn't know, he's my third cousin. And let's go ahead and get his email address loaded in here. So we are still tying at the end of the day when we get into our part estimating and quoting to a customer. This is why it's very important to input your customer on the front end of the software. Now, moving down, I'm going to jump everything because it's no fun to show you guys things like an empty shop floor, of course. But we're going to go down to our settings. And this is probably one of the substantial changes from the old way we were doing things to the new way we are doing things. What you're going to notice is we still have our general settings. We can set our default shop rates, material markups. If you want to utilize internal IDs for things, and again, sequential numbering even to that point, we have that ability to import that right off the start. Getting back to our settings tab, we're going to go ahead and go to our organization tab. Again, if you guys are going to use company logos and start to use our PDF templates, again, we could make a professional PDF quote to send to a customer, all customizable. Again, we want to get this as easy as possible for you guys to use. Now, some of you may be questioning, we are primarily focusing on getting rid of the spreadsheets. We are not an ERP system. Our goal is for you to quote accurately and quickly and manage everything on your shop floor until it ships out the door, right? So from the email from your customer all the way to shipping parts, we're going to leave it to QuickBooks and other bookkeeping software to handle the money side of your business. We just want to know where your money goes by utilizing our system. So again, we're going to jump back to our settings tab. The next tab you have is your users. Again, depending on the number of licenses that you guys end up with Most trials come with 5 licenses to 10 licenses. There's an email down below if you guys want to reach out to us and get on a trial. But you're going to notice you're going to apply your users. Again, this is all based off the fact of things like badge IDs. You guys are going to see me here real quick. I'm going to swap mine out to Phil Brown, of course. And if you guys are wondering, yes, you can give individual employee IDs for your time clock. Again, managing your time that you're at the shop as well as what you're doing at the shop. But why not make $45 an hour? And then we could set individual user permissions. Some of you out there are probably laughing right now. If you guys email this email address, I guarantee you don't get a response. So we're going to save those changes and go back to our settings. Again, we now have our roles and permissions fully customizable. So again, as you guys can see, the ability to read, write. Let me look at this a little bit different. Again, this is why we wanted to make it as simple as possible for you to toggle on, toggle off each kind of user profile, or as we're calling it, roles, and assign them to individual users. Again, we're getting a little deep in the weeds for some of you smaller shops. That's okay. We wanted to be able to accommodate anything and everything at the end of the day. So going back to our settings, let's look at our work centers. This is probably the one thing I don't think changed, but it does affect something later. So let's get a couple work centers put in the system. We're going to start with a work center group. And now this is where you're going to want to group your machines based on capabilities or work envelope. The reason why I say that is, let's just say I like to pick on Fidal's. This is going to be my 40/20 with 4th axis, right? So let's say I have a couple of machines. We're going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Is now I can go in and add machines to this group. So as you're going to see, this might be 40/20A, or maybe you guys call it like Work Center 510. Again, everybody does something different. We're going to charge about $90 an hour. Machine's old as dirt, but still making us good parts. And we can associate that with our Work Center groups. One more time here. Let's say we're going to go over to the 520 Work Center, not 420. We're going to leave that joke alone. And again, we're going to go ahead and say $90 an hour. Now, we could set this a little different, of course. Let's say 110 for that same group. And you guys can rinse and repeat this about as much as you want. Again, we have some basic mill groups, saw, very out-of-the-box templates for you guys to determine things. Now, the importance of the Work Center groups, you're going to see this when we look at the shop floor, because we now have the ability to drag and drop and customize operations when we get to the quote side of things. So if you haven't guessed yet, guys, we're going back to settings one more time. Now, materials, suppliers, and vendors. This is huge. This is night and day different than anything else that we've been doing at this point. We tried to mirror the idea of a spreadsheet. However, when we really got into it, we realized is manually typing things over and over, we needed to set up a generic kind of inventory or sourcing system. So what you guys are going to see me do now is I'm going to go into suppliers, and I'm actually going to start over here at categories. For you guys new out of the box, you're going to realize you're going to add your categories, and eventually you're probably never going to go back in here. But this is where you can quickly load defaults or add your customizations. Again, categories, raw material, 6061, tooling, half-inch end mills, consumables, I don't know, gloves, filters, things of that nature, hardware, bolts, right? But from that, we'll work backwards here a little bit. We can go ahead and create a material category, or we can go to our suppliers. Now, again, for those of you guys that have known me for a few years now, I love picking on McMaster Car. They do great things. So again, we're going to give this a full name, a short name. Just like that, you can add in more and more detail around whoever your supplier is for materials. Now, from that, we need to add materials to our list. I'm going to, again, go with the half-inch end mill. And let's just say it's 3 flute. Outside of that, you have your SKUs, your part numbers, things of that nature. Going down a little bit further, we're going to go ahead and throw this into our tooling category for the price of each. And then I'm going to utilize $27.50. You guys let me know what's the cost of a half-inch carbide end mill, especially for aluminum. But from there, this is the biggest thing I think a lot of shops miss when we tend to do a lot of lean consulting type work is you should be marking up anything that you buy for a part. Now, this is going to sound strange to a lot of you, but we're going to plug in the factor of 10%. Is a lot of people like to think of it as a warehousing fee. I ordered the end mills, they sat on my shelf for 2 weeks, then I used them. Same would go with your material at the end of the day is you should be putting a little bit of markup on it. Now, whether or not you guys do that, that's on you. So again, this is a generic kind of introduction to our inventory side of things, where if you wanted to do a little bit more of a bin tracking system, we haven't fully rolled that out. That's in our list of big updates to come. But let's go ahead, add our material. From there, we could add an additional material. Maybe this time round, we're going to talk about some half 13 bolts. Again, moving a little further on, this is going to fall into our, where is it here? Hardware, each, cost per each. I don't know. What's a half 13 bolt go for nowadays? Again, if you needed to mark it up for any reason, and this is a rinse and repeat process. Again, the categories allows you to filter things down as needed. So we're going to go ahead and go a little bit further. Additional contacts, point of contacts at the company, and lastly, our review. I'm going to add one more supplier in here. Let's just go ahead and say we're going to work with Arlo. Again, giving it a short name, whatever you refer to it in your shop. We could add some material now. Let's say we're going to work with some 1-inch 6061 round bar. And once again, rinse and repeat. Is this bar stock? Is this raw material? You guys have a lot of ways to consume this. Again, is this going to be per inch, per pound? Always a different way to go about this. But I'm going to start with inch. And then let's just say if I got the price on a 144-inch piece, maybe it's coming out at like $2 an inch, right? So again, we're going to give a little bit of markup on here to make life easy. And you guys are going to see, I see somebody out there talking about non-bald eagles in chat. Currently, I just wanted to show you guys this. Unit of measure is something that you can change in your settings. So again, let's close this out here real quick. We're going to create that supplier. If I went to categories right now, as you guys saw, we have all of our different categories. You could add an additional category. Now, I'm going to show you this to you in another area because my tab right now is hidden. But if you want to set up things based on specifics like inch, foot, again, maybe you're in these other countries that drive on the wrong side of the road, you'll see that once we go back to settings and we kind of look at the vendor system, we do have a pricing unit built out. So again, I'm going to load my standard pricing unit. You have H, pound, you could say foot, inch, millimeters, all customizable at the end of the day. So again, we're going to go to categories. Again, I'm going to load standard categories. This is now when we talk about anything that your product needs to be shipped off the premises for to be able to utilize. And again, heat treats, platings, maybe you have a third-party inspector. All of this type of stuff we need to account for when we quote something so that we make sure that, one, we meet the proper deadlines and have enough leadway, but also that that's rolled up into our costing. So again, we have our vendors. I don't know. What's a good company out there? I'm going to steal the simple here. ABC Plating, right? So as you guys can see, again, whatever you're going to end up calling it, let's just, instead of plating, let's call it plate. And all these windows, again, we went for simplicity. It's going to seem like I'm doing a lot this first time through. Again, this is our initial deployment of the software. It's meant to be a living, breathing thing that you don't upload everything right away. You start small, take small bites. That's how the kid in the Matilda movie ate the whole cake, right? So again, we add our services in, plating, let's say black oxide. Down here, we have plating itself, a base price. Maybe our plater comes out and he says it's going to cost us about $15 per piece. And again, we could say per pound, per square foot. You could add your own per square meter, I guess, cubits, whatever you're going to use, right? So we're going to say 15 per each. However, we can also add in what would be referred to a minimum charge. So as you guys are seeing is maybe you have a lot size at a minimum. So whatever price is higher is what they're going to charge you. So again, we could add that surface. We could add additional services here. But all I'm doing is tying services to vendors the same way I was tying materials to suppliers, right? So again, let's get this created. So at this point in our settings menu, we have ran through general deployment, our organization, users and permissions. We set up some work centers, and then we've added our materials to our suppliers and vendors list. Now, from there, we're going to have things with reporting that we can go back to, as well as audit trails. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of how this thing really works, right? The lady in the front office spent all this time setting this thing up and inputting data. Well, let's see how it actually functions at the end of the day. So what we want to start with when we talk about our way of doing things is we are going to make an estimate of an individual item, and that item will go on to a quote. Now, that means we could have multiple estimates on a single quote to send to a customer. We all know how our customers send you 10 parts in one shot, right? But as you're going to see me do, we're going to add our estimate. As you guys can see, we could either add a customer here on the fly, or if you notice here, mine is auto-populated. Now I could go through and add in my part numbers. So in this case, the customer wants 2001. They would like 12 of those. If you are using an internal invoice number or quote number, this is, again, a great thing to be able to self-identify an individual item or a group of items. Again, remember, your estimate could have the same internal ID because they all came in the same customer email, right? Now, from here, as you guys saw me do, we have our lovely material list. That is going to require a quantity based on whatever our increment of measure is. Guys, again, we know the increment of measure doesn't show up right now. It is literally in the works to get set up for Friday. But again, we're using round bar per inch, right? And what you're going to see is now, what is the quantity that I'm going to need? Well, maybe I need 3 inches of material. It costs $2 per inch. We're marking it up 10%. Now, is that the cost? Again, big changes that have happened out here per part, or is it a flat rate? So again, this is where we kind of think of a lot charge, or maybe you want to order an entire bar of material. So again, we're going to go per part. I'm going to hit the plus sign. As you can see, again, if you guys are wondering out there why this math looks a little crazy, you have 12 times $2 times 3, up by 10%, spitting out almost $80 in material. Again, another example of this would be, is we're going to order some end mills for this. Maybe it's 2 end mills. Again, I don't need that costing per part. I need that as a flat rate. I'm going to consume 2 end mills as I make these parts. So this is where the speed really comes in. Keep in mind, guys, I'm explaining this to you, but the idea is that you are going to move extremely fast in these menus. We always want to keep it sub 60 seconds for you to achieve these tasks. So moving on, operations. What are operations? We like to look at it as what work center each item is going to go to. This part comes in, and we want to immediately program it in Fusion, or hopefully you've already programmed it in Fusion, and then this is where you're getting your time studies from. But we're going to actually put it directly on the saw. This is where I'm going to tell my operator, cut to 3 inches. Again, you're noticing that any information that I'm putting here, and this is part of the real big update, is we now have paper travelers where you'll see this information pass through. 5 minutes worth of setup. It's going to be a 1.75. Again, my costing rolled up. Now let's get dangerous with it, right? We're going to go from there. We're going to move it to the 520. Again, setup 1. And with that, we could go ahead and plug in our additional information. 20 minutes setup. Let's go ahead and do our 20 minutes worth of cycle time. And lastly, we're going to add a third work center, which is going to be the 510. One more time. This is going to be our setup 2. And let's just keep it easy. Let's go 30 and 10 this time around. So as you're seeing, as I progress through this, my costing is all rolling up automatically, as a lot of you have built out your spreadsheets at the end of the day, right? So we wanted to mimic this, but we wanted to mimic this in a way that it's auto-populating things like your pricing, your costing, and giving you the chance to front load something in the system. Now, we know you're not going to win every quote. The idea is when you're quoting in our software, you're much more accurate, which means your likelihood of winning should increase pretty dramatically. So again, lastly, let's go ahead and send this to plating. Yes, I get it, guys. You can't. Black oxide on aluminum. Probably possible. Somebody's probably tried it. Not realistic. But again, cost per part or flat rate costing. One last time, we'll add that in there. So let's go ahead and get this now saved. Now, one thing I'm going to show you guys here is we can attach files and documents to this quote as well. So this was a big ask from some people out there is we're going to go ahead and save our estimate. And if you wanted to, oh man, I'm going to regret clicking this button. I don't know what's going to pop up in my downloads folder, but if you wanted to attach a specific file, I'm living pretty safe today. We're going to use my thumbnail. You guys like that thumbnail? AI. That's what AI thinks I look like when I smile. But we're going to go ahead and attach a file here just so you guys can see this. Again, we've uploaded a file, something specific to that operation. Maybe it's a drawing of raw material. Maybe it's a drawing or material search or something else, right? So again, as you guys are seeing me do, we can go ahead and update our estimate. Now I'm going to pause here because this was a big ask. Let's say I'm going to kind of do the same series of events time and time again. This is where I could immediately jump in and duplicate this estimate and change maybe 2 or 3 pieces of information. I could roll this onto a quote. We're going to do that here in a moment. Or I can now start to generate templates to speed up the entire process of creating my estimates. You could have a couple of estimates that are all built out around very simple workflows. Maybe everything in your shop comes in, goes to the saw, then maybe it's the lathe and then the mill. Well, you could do that with 10 Workcenters and then delete the ones that you don't like at the end of the day. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to go ahead and hit duplicate. As you guys are going to see, we have the 2001. Let's say this customer now wants us to do 2002. I could go through here and change whatever I need to change. Maybe that part is going to be cut to 5 inches. They only need 6 of those. And again, setup on the saw is about the same, cycle time the same. Maybe we're looking at a little shorter setup, maybe a shorter running time. Again, let's go 20. And for some reason, this part's going to take 60 minutes. So as you're seeing me do, once again, I'm updating things with the intent that my pricing is automatically changing and my scheduling is happening all at the same time. So let's go ahead and update that estimate. And let's go ahead and jump back. Now, we could add this to a quote. I'm going to go for it. As you guys are going to see is if I already had an open quote, we could immediately put the estimate on the quote. Or I'm going to show you guys this a little different way. If I go to quotes, I could generate a quote here. We, again, are out here with multiple workflows that you're going to have to let us know what works the quickest for you. But as you're going to see, I have my 2 different parts in the system now. Again, if I go to either one, let's go ahead and throw this on a brand new quote. As you can see, it's automatically pulled my customer because I estimated said part against customer. And then we need to get our due date. Anybody in the world of machining knows everything was due yesterday. My internal IDs, things of this nature are already populated. And again, I can add to the estimate that other item. So again, we now have 2 line items, 2 different quotes, pricing for each, and the roll-up pushed through automatically. So moving on a little bit further down here, as you guys can see, if you wanted to add on additional line items, flat rate shipping, I don't know, whatever you guys are going to put on your quote, right? But with that, once you get everything populated, we can update our quote. From here, if you wanted to generate a PDF copy to send to your customer, these templates, guys, are customizable. We wanted to make it as simple as possible for you to operate and you to get out there and get things sold. So moving back, now that we've sent our customer the PDF, we're waiting, and we're waiting. And hey, it may be 6 months down the road, but they came back and told us, you know what, those parts, we want them. So we can go ahead and accept this. Now that we've accepted that, as you guys are going to notice down below, I need to now convert my estimates over to get them on my job board. Now you can, of course, do all of them. You could do some of them. Again, this is all specific to each and every one of your workflows. So as you're going to see me do, I'm going to convert both of these in real time. And then this is where we are going to pivot from our work orders. Again, an estimate becomes a work order. An estimate is a part number. A work order is a part number. As you guys can see up here at the top, I may want to now go out and generate my actual paper travelers. So this is a really good thing. Again, we've added this in by popular demand. Sorry for anybody watching this video right now under a blanket and dark lighting. You may be blind, but now we have a paper traveler we can print and we could throw in our parts bin. You may put it on a clipboard on your floor, right? Now, the cool thing about this is everybody always asks that question. What happens if the internet goes down? What happens if the internet goes down? Well, you could access OhScrap from your cell phone. It's not a big deal. But like most things, we have a backup system for sign-offs and dates if you guys wanted to log your cycle times. We also have all of our instructions that have passed through automatically, bill of materials. Again, if you wanted to take this from square one and go put it in your shipping and receiving department so that they can sign off once material is here, we have that all accommodated on our paper traveler. So we're going to go back to our work orders. This is where, based on your permissions, you could have somebody only see the shop floor. Now, if you guys remember, we had to set up work center groups. If you notice, we have our 40/20 with fourth axis. We have our saw. If I untoggle this, I went ahead and hit the back button. If I go ahead and hit hide empties, you'll notice all my other work centers and my work center groups have populated automatically here. And if there was anything else inside of here, we would see that in real time. Now, let's just say I'm a saw operator. Well, on my computer, I may be looking at just the terminal for the saw, which gives me my pecking list to be able to go through, pick each individual item, and utilize the ability to log in, start different operations, and change out whatever I need to change out. Now, let's do this for real. As you can see, we start at the top. My due date obviously fell off there at one moment, but we can go ahead and clock in. As you can see, I'm clocked in. I'm going to go ahead and exit the kiosk and go back to the shop floor, because you guys are going to see here is where I'm going to start my setup. Again, this is where we use badge IDs based on number of users. And just like that, I am now actively working on this part on the saw. Now, again, we like to be redundant, but you can see your session summaries. Let's say, for example, the first part cut too short because the saw blade was crooked. Who knows, right? There's a million things that happen. But we're going to go ahead and log some production. Short part due to, what would you call it? Tapered cut on bar end. Right? So again, for your logging, your tracking, what your employees are doing, again, my goal is not to micromanage shops. I don't think any of us, our goal is to micromanage shops. Our goal is not to correct people on not logging cycle times, right? The goal is to understand what jobs you make money on, what operations are being successful, and why. So again, you can see we have set up progress. I'm going to go ahead and close this down here real quick. If we go to our next one, again, maybe your saw guy is now working on the next thing, deburring, prepping material. But what I want to show you is in our work order files, we have our operation files. That was when you saw at the bottom of my screen, I could attach something to the work order, drawing, but at the operation level, I need that specific item. If we hit the view button, as you guys can see, that lovely image comes through. Amazing thing you could do with this right now. You do an estimate for a part and you take photos of your setups throughout the day. Again, a reorder, that's where we get into, again, getting a little bit out of a job shop mindset and more into a production shop. Again, guys, if any of you have ever seen this, my wife is probably still laughing at how funny this video is. And just so you know, yes, we used AI for this picture. You can see the Gemini logo in the corner for copyright purposes. But again, we're going to go ahead and start setup. We're going to go ahead and log our into this job, or into this op, I should say. And with that, let's go back to our first one. As you can see, we are extremely efficient. So we're going to end our startup. Again, we're now starting our runtime. And with everything inside the system, we're logging that based on our employee ID or badge ID. So we know who's running it, who's on what machine. As you guys can see, my name didn't update quite well on there, but this is where I want to pivot to a little bit different workflow, which I think you all are going to love at the end of the day. Again, massive update item as you're going to see here. So let's go to the 510. And as you guys are going to see, we're going to start our setup the same way as we've done before. However, it's pretty common at the end of the day, one machine goes down for maintenance, or maybe somebody didn't show up for work. This is where we have changed things up with the ability, I may have to zoom out here real quick, is the ability to go in and be able to drag and drop these. Now, you guys can't see this little hand symbol, but if I grab onto a job, or not a job, an operation, and I drag it up and drop it, did not like that. Let's see if we can get it again. Well, this is why you should never, at the end of the day, change your system right before you do stuff. But what it will do is it'll allow you to keep things in the same work center group. As you guys can see, I can't drag it horizontally, but I could drag it up. And we're going to see if maybe it's where I'm placing it. I'm almost certain it's where I'm placing it. In this case, it is not. Let's go ahead and do one more thing, which would be refreshing the screen and try that one more time. There it is. See, look, user error. As you can see, if I get to a certain point, we get a green box. And just like that is drug one work order over from one to the other. Again, this is where, as you guys are seeing, we can reorder things based on work center groups. I was going to say, I know this thing works. And with that, you can move from machine to machine. Now, I'm looking at a work center group view. Again, just to see that one more time, is if I wanted to put this guy over here and this guy over here, anything that's in the same group, I can move it from machine to machine. So again, maybe the new guy's arriving in the 510. I'm a work center supervisor. He's not going to be able to handle the TAC 202s, but he can handle the 201s. So again, as you guys are seeing me do in real time, this drag and drop ability inside the software is a massive change on how you look at and manage your shop floor. But let's go back to the shop floor now. So again, I'm going to go ahead and say all groups. As you guys can see, we can get a view of our entire shop. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here real quick. We're going to pause run. Actually, we're going to start run again because I failed to log my parts. Again, great thing here. Let's say out of those 10 parts we're trying to make, or 6 parts here. We're going to go ahead and log 5 real quick. And let's get our production logged. Again, you'll see my log down below is updating automatically. Good versus scrap. And if you guys look at the board here, we're going to go ahead and refresh my screen. My progress bar is changing. Again, as somebody overviewing, seeing what's going on in the shop, or if maybe I wanted to start work order 002, but I want to do op 20 now, we could easily see how far we are here, maybe start the next operation ahead of time. Now we can, at any time, type in 002, and you'll notice I pull all of my work center ops automatically for that work order. So again, if you wanted to search based on part number, as you can see, TAC 2002, maybe we go back to TAC 2001. The idea is the speeds and the efficiency here to get to where you guys need to be was 100% thought through, as well, helped shaped by our current customer base. So let's do this. Let's go ahead. Let's claim our next couple of parts. We need 12 good parts on here. And we are going to scroll down, log production, and setup. And just like that, I think that was only setup. But let's go ahead and do a little bit of start run here real quick, just so we can get a little bit of time on here. And just like that, magic happened and we completed. Now we're going to complete out the operation. And with completing out the operation, it is going to stay on the board unless we toggle hide complete. Again, the whole idea is for you guys to be able to very quickly go through your system and see what is it that needs to be worked on, what's next, what's where, right? So as you guys are going to start to see is we're going to move through this a little bit faster. What I should do is make sure that we do all of the 2001s here. So again, we're going to go ahead and end setup and start our run cycle. And let's get our 12 parts in here and log that. Again, we could pause, complete our operation. And real quick, let's see if we do still have one more 2001. So once again, starting our setup, maybe we scrapped a part. Again, broke, tap in part. Anything we could do to keep ourselves from getting fired as an operator, that would be wise. We start our run cycle one more time. And with that, we're going to go ahead and claim our 12 parts one more go around. And with that, we'll go ahead and pause, complete our operation. So as you guys are seeing, is me moving through the software, I am moving pretty quick at the end of the day. But from a shop floor supervisor kind of view, we could always take a look and overview of all of our work orders across the shop. Again, we've made it so that you can have a simpler view. Same search mentality. The way I've always imagined this and the way it was expressed to us is that you might have a monitor in your shop. All of your work centers are pulled up, right? Now, your employee that's running, for example, the 5020 or 520, I can't talk today. As you're seeing is I could always look at a work center view as well and be able to punch in, punch out, and just work down that list the same exact way at the end of the day. So we've made this in multiple different variations that each individual user in the process can look at it in a different way, understand it in a different way, quickly see, for example, cut to 5, all the notes that are going to be needed based on that information. Now let's jump over to our work center orders. This is where things get very, very fun and interesting if you're now starting to think with things like our production logs. If I want to look at my consumable materials, how much time do I have invested? Who did what along the way? We could also go to our post-production tab, which would be things like pre-shipping inspections. Again, when it shipped, did it ship? Is it ready to be invoiced yet? Again, anything and everything that we can communicate at the work order level for that item. Jumping back over to my details tab, as you guys can see, we can see our completed operations as well. We have our paper traveler, and for some of you, this was the view we looked at when we converted our actual quote into work orders. So with that, let's go ahead and close our work order. We're going to confirm and close just like that. Now, if we go back to our work order list, again, you're going to notice the progression has moved through. It is now at a status of closed. Now, something that's going to be a big update that we are pushing out very, very soon is kind of a staging and QC concept. The same idea would happen here at the end of the day. Let me go ahead and refresh my screen. Is we're going to have to go back and I'm going to have to look at one thing real quick because I am trying to skip over to keep this time short. But is another board that you can drag and move your things through to make sure that everything is being visualized as well as all the checks and balances are happening in real time. Let me get back to my other work order here real quick. You guys are going to see in post-production, we're going to go ahead and save fulfillment. And back to our staging and QC. Yep, I was correct in the way that I am operating the software. Is let's go ahead and get our fulfillment, pending QC. Again, if we need a ship date, shipping, ready to invoice, we're going to go ahead and save that fulfillment. And then let's go back into our staging and QC. We're going to refresh the page. Not kidding you guys. It does work to some extent. And as you are seeing here, ready to invoice. Again, this is a pre-released feature that we're bringing in. The questions keep getting brought up. This is the great thing about joining something like us. We are a small operation, but we move extremely fast when it comes to these iterations, where a lot of our customers have said, okay, what are you doing for quality control? How does this work for some of our ISO 9000? Where can I put my inspection results? All of that is stuff that we are moving forward with very, very fast, and we would love for your guys' input with that. Now, if you guys are, again, interested in the product, interested in what you see, sign up for a trial down low. Again, you can use the email OhScrap. I know it sounds like oh crap. It's kind of funny in my opinion. At jitcadcam.com and we can get you going. So I have been talking now for 37 minutes straight. Is there any questions out there from anybody? Anything in particular you guys are curious about? Again, I just want to actually, it does now remind me. So let's go ahead and jump back to our dashboard because there was a few more things that I almost forgot about. Again, I just started this today. This is a brand new wipe. You guys can see all of my data, my information, as well as my currently running Workcenters and my workflow as it's happening. You can also scroll up here to the top. This is, again, future, is if we go to our timeline, we could actually look at, and we're building this out, Nat chart style kind of layout of your schedule, what needs to happen first, as well as the ability to access these items here in the timeline versus your shop floor view. Again, we wanted to make this easy for somebody that's an admin or anybody that is kind of your upper management to be able to quickly move through these consoles quickly, as well as our shop floor view at the end of the day. Man, that was a lot. Let me grab a drink here real quick. I'm not seeing any questions. I don't know if that's a good thing. I like to think to myself that you guys are speechless about what you're seeing, or maybe it's like drinking from a fire hose. But let's get back to my big, beautiful face here. I am going to leave you guys with it. You guys know it, the saying, right? Well, technically, you probably don't because you're new to OhScrap, which means you're new to JitCAD Cam as well. You're new to this beautiful fusion fill face that is world renowned. So that said, it's not what you guys know, it's who you know. We build products out like this to support you guys and create a much simpler overview of your shop floor, better quoting, as well as more accurate quoting, and stop the bottlenecking, stop the constraints is the technical term that happen along the way, as well as you ever catch an employee with his hands in his pocket and says he doesn't know what to do. We've made it outline very simple in a job board keep things moving very, very fast so that you can take a vacation, as we all know you guys do as owners. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your day. And for those of you that are our Fusion customers, can't wait to see you guys back here Friday for another free support Friday, where we can also answer questions based on OhScrap in that time frame. Thanks, guys.